And good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, Petit Martinique, the rest of the Eastern Caribbean. Wherever you are locally, regionally, and internationally, it is time for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'll be here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. It's now 10 minutes after the hour of 8 o'clock. We will be joined in a short while by political leader of the New National Party, a lady who needs no introduction, the Honorable Emlyn Pear. She'll be on with us in a short. Yeah, this one is a sacrifice for her to be on the program tonight, because let me see the time. There is actually, it's after 1 a.m. where she is right now, and she's going to be on with us tonight. Yes, indeed. Saying a special good night to all of you joining us via the YouTube, all of you joining us via We Noise Radio. No, I can't take the calls right now. I'm sorry. If there's a problem with the audio, message me. I cannot take the calls, or I have the system set up to bring on the political leader tonight. I'll be unable to take the calls before. YouTube. The Facebook, once again, we updated the software that we use to do streaming. Since doing that update, we've been having that problem where we cannot connect to Facebook. Now, I've done some research on it today. It is not a problem on our end. It is not a problem with Facebook. It is not a problem with the software. It is a problem with Facebook. It is not a problem with the software we're using to stream, or our computer or anything here. It's not a problem on our end. It's a problem with Facebook. So while the software that we use for streaming, I updated it this week. While it's been updated, they're having a problem connecting with Facebook. So that's why we're having the problem with Facebook. But again, as usual, as we always say, when Facebook is down, join us on the YouTube. Yeah, and before we go into the program for tonight, before we go over there tonight, remember K&R Bookstore, they have that back to school special going on. Remember, buy one, get one free on all school supplies. From now until the last day of August, items on sale. They have pens, pencils, rubbers, highlighters, markers, notebooks, backpacks, etc. And they're on H.A. Blaze Street. You can find them on the phone number 231-3500, 231-3500. Now, you know what this means, This means that if you have let's say you have 4 children, so you buying the school supplies for 2 and you're getting the school supplies for the other 2 free. You all understand what's going on there? So if you have 2 children, you're buying the school supplies for 1 child and you're getting the school supplies for the other child free. You have 6 children. You're buying, well, that's if you've been really busy, boy. I ain't lying. Some only have to be busy. But anyway, you're buying for 3 and you have for the other 3 free. Right? So imagine you and your neighbor, same way you're bringing them out together to go and vote on election day, you're bringing them to go to K&R Bookstore and you're looking for supplies and so on. And I'm telling you all this because I think it's a good deal. I know what parents are going through. We have gone through the CPI and we've seen that there is the constant increase in relation to the price of books and uniforms and all these kind of things. So here it is, you're getting an opportunity to go to this place. Heather, good night to you, Heather. You're going there and you're getting a good deal. So you're buying, so you buy 1 pack of crayon, you could get 1 free. You buy 1 school bag, you could get 1 free. You understand how the thing go? So they have buy 1, it's not me say so, you know. Is they say buy 1 and get 1 free on all school supplies, right? Up until the end of August. So before you go and spend all the money for the carnival to go and lime and them kind of thing, go and get your school supplies by K&R. They are on H.A. Blaze Street where the new building has been put up there by Otway Bailey. Yeah, by Bailey's. They're upstairs in the new section there from the H.A. Blaze Street side. You can go in there and you will find K&R Bookstore and get your stuff. All right? Nice. Yes, and I'm saying this because I know many parents really, really need an opportunity like that. So that you're buying for half the children and you're getting for the other half free. Right? Nice. You're saving $1. And I know many of you are going to take advantage of the opportunity to be able to do that. Folks, also remember the Northwest Tent. Yeah, the Northwest Brigade, the Calypso Tent, they're launched this Saturday. Oops, no, back to K&R. But yeah. The Northwest, they're launched and they are launching this Saturday from 8 p.m. They're going to be at the Mount Moritz Community Center, sponsored by the Mount Moritz Community Development Organization, Grand Mall Development Organization, and Grenada Distillers Limited. All right, price of the tickets only $15, so that's going to be happening this Saturday from 8 p.m. out there at the Mount Moritz Community Center. But also remember, you have to hold our money in your pocket and think for this one happening next week, Friday. That's the St. David's constituency branch of the New National Party. They've got the barbecue sale. That's going to be barbecue chicken, barbecue fish, barbecue pork, pig foot sauce, Manish waters, bacon fish cake, potato salad, green salad, garlic bread, ice cold drinks at the Lassa Jess office. And that's going to be taking place from 1 p.m. next week Friday, not tomorrow, next week Friday. All right, so you have enough time to put together a look at dollars and things to go there and support the the air traffic controller. Yeah, right. No man can even go regional meeting. He don't go in Jamaica. He don't go in this. He don't go. The man don't leave in the country at all. He afraid. He afraid. So yeah, all of a sudden them people and them who like to jump plane. They ain't going nowhere. With a afraid so. All of a sudden they are very afraid, and I wondering why. So folks, let's just get this one out of the way as we prepare to get the Honorable Emmeline Pierre on with us. Let me just play these two for you. Indeed, yeah, some of the people who support us in whichever way, and we like to support them as they support us. Oh, come on, what's the matter now? Why are you doing this to me? Oh, I see why you're doing that. Yeah, let's clarify.
Monthly, quarterly, or yearly payments. For more information, contact We Noise TV at 929-445-4463, or you can email us at wenoisetv@gmail.com. We Noise TV, the leading streaming provider. Anytime, anywhere, any screen. Access to your favorite HD contents with prices as low as ever. Choose from monthly, quarterly, or yearly payments. This worldwide service is flexible for you to keep up with all your favorite programs, shows, movies, and local programming from home no matter where you travel to. Worldwide TV channels right at your fingertips wherever you are. Latest in live sports, binge watch all your favorite TV shows, movies on demand, videos on demand. You can pause, rewind, fast forward anytime. Never miss 1 minute in entertainment important to you. No contracts, no added prices for sports or premium packages. We certainly don't have to pull tricks like cable and satellite companies. Our product speaks for itself and beyond. We Noise TV. We have everything like Netflix, Disney, Amazon. Watch your favorite movies, TV shows, and series with our services. With our service, you will get rid of all other subscriptions. For more information, contact We Noise TV at 929-445-4463, or you can email us at wenoisetv@gmail.com.
Fitness Revolution 11 2025, 16 days of fun, fitness, laughter, energy. I just want to encourage everybody to come down to both Tantin, Old Trafford playing field, and Monroe's Granans for our eventful fun, fitness, and giveaways. Fitness Revolution 11, one and all. See you there.
Yeah, they nearly make me have to do exercise in the studio too, you know. Yes, indeed, folks. So as I said, we are trying to get the Honorable Emmeline Pierre on in a short while. We have about 8 minutes before we bring her on. Let me just get something sorted out here. Let me just pull up a little tune there while I sort out this this one here. Now. Yeah. Now, I think I have a nice tune for you. right, folks, I think I've been joined by the Honorable Emlyn Pierre. Let me just double check my audio. Honorable, are you there?
I'm there. Are you hearing me? I
Yes.
am here. I'm there.
We're hearing you very, very, very clearly. How are you
Well, I'm
doing?
really happy. I am good, thank you. Good night to you and all of your listeners. My pleasure, as usual, to be on tonight.
Indeed, and it's always wonderful to have you on with us. I just need to bring you up via video, and I'm trying to see how I'm doing that there right now. I'm trying to bring you up via video. I think your camera is off.
Yes, and I think the video might be a challenge because of the internet connection.
Oh yes, because if you're doing the video, yes. Because as I mentioned to the listeners, it's after 1, it's actually 1:26 a.m. where you are in the UK right now. How has it been going? I know that you're doing a training, a parliamentary training out there. How has that been going?
Well, I would say very, very successful. I think it has surpassed my own expectation. And when I say that, I don't just speak for myself, but I speak for the rest of the team. Honorable Clarice Modest Cowan is here. Honorable Kate Lewis Peters. Honorable Salim Rahman. And some people might be asking themselves, well, who is this? You know, because not all of the senators might be as well known as persons from the House of Representatives. So Senator Salim is the independent senator in the Senate representing the business community. And Senator Roderick St. Clair is also here. He is also a senator in the upper house, and he is representing the farmers in the Senate. So we are here, a 5-member team, accompanied technically by the Clerk of Parliament, and we are attending the Public Accounts Committee workshop organized by CPA UK jointly with the UK Parliament. They are actually funding this activity, and it has been extremely successful from 2 perspectives, I would put it. The Public Accounts Committee, of course, historically with government having all 15 seats in the Parliament, as well as, you know, there has been quite a number of different factors influencing that. I think we can all say that the Public Accounts Committee has not been very, very vibrant over the years. There has been some sittings, there has been some discussions and dialogues, but as it relates to consistently undertaking the responsibility, we felt that this was a very timely activity, because we have committed ourselves to really take on very seriously the role of the Public Accounts Committee as stated in the standing orders of Parliament. I think it's standing order 69 that speaks about the roles and function of the Public Accounts Committee, which has to do primarily with scrutinizing financial accounts of government departments, statutory bodies, the issue of value for money, and it relates as well to the economy. When you think of all of that, the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness in public spending. And of course, as you know, by law, the Public Accounts Committee can summon civil servants, you know, permanent secretaries, director of audits, accountant general, etc., directors of statutory boards, to account for the delivery of services within the public service. And of course, inquiries into audited financial statements of government, etc. So both from the opposition, as in the New National Party opposition, and the independent senators, this trip really has given us an opportunity to take an in-depth look into what is really our role and function, and what is it that we need to do. At the end of the session today, today was actually the last day, we actually came up with a 1-year plan as it relates to implementation. We've already set a date for the next meeting and guidelines as to how we are going to function going forward. We are going to be having a public engagement with the media very soon. to outline all of that. So it has been very productive, very informative, and I believe it has given all of us the encouragement to go forward, knowing specifically what our role and function is as Public Accounts Committee.
Okay, so this is unlike what some other people do. You hear they travel and then you wonder, well, what is the benefit? You haven't even gotten back to Grenada, and here it is, you're already saying to the Grenadian people, I have traveled, even as opposition leader, and here are the benefits to the travel. We'll be able to more effectively go over the accounts of the government of Grenada, see how government is spending, hold government accountable in relation to its spending, etc. These are the benefits of the travel you're doing. You didn't just disappear, go in England and come back and say, well, the food was nice and they put me in a nice hotel. There are benefits to the travel that you have traveled, and even before coming back, you've already reported to the Grenadian people.
Additionally, Sheldon, I want to say that we had the opportunity not just for the theoretical, but some practical sessions. So we were actually able to sit in a live sitting of the Parliament, but more so the Public Accounts Committee actually interviewing persons and having an inquiry on. We were able to actually sit in and to observe and to have experienced persons from previous Public Accounts Committee as well as current Public Accounts Committee share with us best practices, challenges, of course, the extent to which they operate. We have never gone that far in terms of the extensiveness of the work. Is like a full-time operation they're involved in. But as I said, very, very informative, and all my colleagues here have indicated that this was really value for money in terms of their sponsorship of this activity.
Indeed, and we want to congratulate you and the team on taking that initiative, because you could have decided that no, there are other things that you want to do in Grenada here and not go. But the benefits of this, the Grenadian people will be seeing the benefits of this travel that you have done. Was it also a good opportunity as well? Because I assume that it's not just Grenada that's at this training. There are several other countries. Has it been a good opportunity for you and the team to network with other politicians from other countries, make connections that in the future tend to be beneficial? I know you've traveled extensively before when you worked along with the Commonwealth Youth Program and other youth programs, and that was way before Senator Emlyn Pierre or Minister Emlyn Pierre. You were part of the youth network. Many of those individuals, we see them in positions of power in various countries right now. And we're not just speaking the Caribbean, in Africa, in Asia, South America. You're seeing different people who were part of those networks. Has this been another opportunity for you to network with politicians, government officials from various other countries?
Specifically the UK. And what is awesome about this, Sheldon, what is great about this, it was specially designed for Grenada. So it was not a situation where Grenada was just a part of. This was for the Grenada Public Accounts Committee and facilitated every member. As you know, according to the standing orders of Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee comprises 5 members, and they would have sponsored all 5 members to attend this. But you're absolutely correct in that during this session, we had the opportunity to engage and to network with quite a number of persons in key position in the UK Parliament, the Public Accounts Committee, and other important organizations, CPA, etc., that would provide, and they have all pledged to provide direct support to the functioning of the Public Accounts Committee in Grenada. Many of them have shared their direct contact, not just their office contact, direct contact, because they want to provide support as it relates to the functioning of the Public Accounts Committee.
Now, strange enough, you're actually in the United Kingdom at this point in time, and there's the very, very topical issue now here in Grenada, and I know it was topical even before you left, of changing the oath of allegiance from swearing, I do swear to King Charles, his heirs and successors, to swearing to Grenada. There's that very topical issue right now. What is the stance of the new National Party in relation to this process? I've seen the present Attorney General, and I'm going to say some things, I don't want to say it while you're on air, but I'm going to let folks know some things about the present Attorney General and this particular issue, because I saw her basically telling people, tag you and attack you in relation to a statement you made, and the statement you made was correct. I myself was part of the Constitutional Reform Committee. I was on the committee at the same time that the former Attorney General attended the one meeting and decided she's not coming back. So I know for a fact that this issue was one of the issues in the referendum. In fact, if I remember around section 34, 35, 36, somewhere around there, it was one of the clauses in the constitutional reform process of 2016 that she's denying. What is the position of the new National Party on the issue?
Right. So you would recall, Sheldon, in November 2016, Grenada had a referendum. And under that, there were items. One of those items had to do with the CCJ. And under that, there was also some related items. One of those was the oath of allegiance. And basically what that was saying is that, we have matured enough, or our national identity is such that we need to bear allegiance to Grenada as opposed to the King or Queen of England after 50 years as an independent nation. I'm quite sure most of us will feel that way, right? Now, as you would remember, that particular item, I believe the vote in favor was about 43%. And you needed a 2/3 majority for any of those to pass, right? So obviously that did not go through. Now, what is very instructive to note here, and you made mention that the particular minister was encouraging people to attack me. I mean, after those years, you're quite immune to this, and you understand people better and better every day, right? But that particular item was indeed part of the referendum, right? It was part of the referendum. And what is more instructive to note is that the National Democratic Congress at that time, their focus was encouraging Grenadians to vote no to all the items in the referendum, right? And they did it not once, but twice. Now, to the extent that many people did not even think of what they were asked to do. So let us recall, sometimes we forget very, very easily. So people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique, who have been calling or were calling for years to have Carriacou and Petit Martinique on the passport, they were encouraged to vote no in the referendum, and they ended up, until now, not having Carriacou and Petit Martinique on the passport. So, to me, if you ask me, the response by many persons was simply just political. There are people who had genuine concerns. They aired those concerns. They aired strong views, right, about the referendum. But if you look at the campaign that was launched by the NDC, it was primarily just to say, it's introduced by NNP, let's not support it. And I want to start there because this is not the nature of the new National Party. If this administration is doing something that we believe is right, we would support. There's been bills brought to Parliament between 2022 and now, and we have openly supported it. For example, and this is very interesting, I'm going to use this example. For example, the record would show that I supported the gun amnesty bill. The record of Parliament will show that, right? Now, what am I saying this to say? We are not petty to the extent that because we brought something and asked people to vote for it, and other people encouraged them not to vote for it, and they voted against it, that we would now turn automatically and say to people, don't support it because they did not support it when we brought it, or don't support it because it's brought by them. We don't operate in the gutter. So we have made it abundantly clear that our position then in 2014, 2016 remains the same. Our position remains the same. We are supportive of a change in the Constitution to reflect that our Governor General, our government officials, members of Parliament, the Public Service Commission Chair, the Supervisor of Election, we are supportive that all of these people, when they take the oath of allegiance, they should not be taking it to the King or Queen of England, they should be taking it to Grenada. Right? Now, there's one issue that we have at this time. It has nothing to do with our position on this matter. The issue we have is that 1 year ago, thereabout, the team that has been leading this initiative, headed by former Minister of Government, Attorney at Law, Dr. Francis Alexis, who I have a lot of respect for, Dr. Alexis and his team presented to the executive of the New National Party, a representative group of the executive, on this matter. And the then political leader of the party and those who were present, including myself, gave full support for this. As a matter of fact, the political leader at the time was asked, and he obliged, to put in writing the party's position of support to this. Fast forward then to now, we are very concerned that not sufficient has been done as it relates to education, public debates, right? And getting the public involved in discussion surrounding this. So, number one, we are concerned that we are not ready to take a bill to Parliament in that regard, right? We are ready to support as a party, as members of Parliament. But this is not just about us. This is about a nation. It's about generations to come. It is about the future of our country and ensuring that everybody is involved in the conversation surrounding this very critical, important matter. But the second thing about how we feel at this time is the fact that there's been some recent objections to the position of the team that is leading the presentation of these bills. Or not presentation, but development or preparation of the bills. Now, in light of this, we are saying that those views have not changed our position, but we believe that the concerns raised are sufficient to increase public education on the matter and to ensure that people understand what is about to happen, what we are preparing to do, and that we do not have a situation where it is just pushed down the throats of ordinary people. And so we are calling on the committee to intensify the education program. We are calling on them to participate in public debates on the issue with probably persons who disagree. And we are also calling on the government, the fact that they are going to bring the bill to Parliament, that they have a critical role as it relates to public education, right? And we are not seeing anything structured and organized on the part of government in that regard. Additionally, I have conveyed to Dr. Alexis and his team that as an organization, while we, the elected members and others, have indicated our support for this, we would want to have sufficient time to be able to take this conversation to those who we represent, to take it to the constituency level, to engage persons on this, to let them know why we support it, right? And for those reasons, Sheldon, we are hearing, we don't know for a fact, but we are hearing that there's an attempt by the government to pass this or to bring this to Parliament before the 1st of August. And we have a serious concern about this because we do not believe sufficient has been done to educate the public and to ensure that the public is on board with what is about to happen. It should not be a rush. This government has adopted a pattern where it brings things to Parliament and take it through bills to Parliament, take them through all stages at the same time, even without public consultation. And we are saying this should be an exception to the rule.
I think also, Honorable Peer, it needs to be pointed out that the New National Party had the majority on 3 occasions to do exactly what the government is doing now. After 99 general election, 15 seats. You need a 2/3 majority to make a simple change to the Constitution, 2013 and 2018. But on the 2 occasions that the New National Party decided to go the route of constitutional reform, in both instances, they decided to take it to the people. Not just you all voted for us and we have all the seats and we could just do it, and who like it, who don't like it, don't like it. We took it to the people of Grenada and gave them the opportunity to make the decision, because you're not just making a simple change here, you're interfering with the Constitution of Grenada, the supreme law of the land. And it ought not to be a situation that somebody wakes up and decide, well, we have the numbers, we have 10, we could make the change, and just go ahead and make the change. But that there, as you said, needs to be a certain level of education, and there needs to be a certain level of consultation, because you may very well find that many Grenadians who you really believe, I remember when it came to the last referendum with the CCJ, some individuals who, due to their type of political leaning over the years, I believe would never support would support the CCJ. These are the people that said, no way, I ain't supporting the CCJ, I'm supporting the Privy Council. And these are people, anybody, if you call these people name, you would say, no, these are people that are definitely going to support the CCJ, they are regionalists and so on. And no, they were not. They were supporting the Privy Council. So we can't take it for granted that people are going to support this move. That is, as according to what you've mentioned, you need to speak to your constituents and the people of Grenada and let them know, yes, we support this, this is why we support it, before the undue haste to rush into Parliament to pass it, to say, we do it, we go in Parliament and we change it. So I think that point just needs to be made, that the NNP could have done it, but decided the best approach was to go to the people of Grenada with it and let the people have a say in relation to it.
In fairness, Sheldon, let me make a distinction, right? So when we did the referendum before, obviously there were items in there that needed to go to referendum, right? Most of what was there needed to go to referendum. And so there was not a case where most of those bills could have been just brought to Parliament and members of Parliament take a decision and then it became give the authority now to change the Constitution, right? Now, in this, it's a single item. In this case, it's a single item. And based on the presentation made by Dr. Alexis and his team, we believe that for that single item, we do not need to go to referendum, right? Even if that is the case, we are saying, even if that is the case, the people of Grenada still need to be involved in the process in a central way, right? So not because something doesn't require a referendum mean that we need to just go to the Parliament and take a decision leaving the people out of the equation. We are saying that this is too important to not have a magnitude or an extensive consultation agenda with the people of this country. And that is why we are calling on all of those involved, and we are going to do our part. This requires a couple months where the people of Grenada, every parish of this country, every constituency of this country is engaged, actively engaged to discuss this and make sure that you have people at the center of this process, and that you feel satisfied that when you do take this bill to Parliament, that you are doing it not for a personal selfish reason, but you are doing it because this is the will of the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. And that is what we would like to see. And that is why, as you say, connecting that back to what you said, for us, all of the processes and all of the people who were involved going from parish to parish to parish during those periods, it was specifically for that reason, that you don't make important decision that has to do with the identity of our nation, that has to do with the heritage, the nation in itself has to be a part of those important things, and you can't do it in isolation. There are just too many things that are being rushed to Parliament, decisions taken, and sometimes when they affect, let's just use a practical example. There's a bill that was brought to Parliament. Serious implication for farmers of this country. As a matter of fact, the penalties included jail sentencing. And I called some key farmers in Grenada, people who I know are actively involved in the agriculture industry, inclusive of the representative of farmers in the Senate, and none of them knew that that bill was going to Parliament. None of them knew of the major content of that bill. And that's the point I'm making, that this ought not to go further without having the people of Grenada engaged and involved in the conversation at all levels.
Indeed. Honorable Emmeline Pierre, as we get closer to the 9 o'clock hour, and I have a lot to talk to you about, I don't want to lose the opportunity. And I am mindful of the fact that it is now 8 minutes to the hour of 2 a.m. where you are. So I'm mindful of
No,
that.
for me, it's fine. For me, it's fine. I have not, my body has not adjusted since I came, so I have not really been sleeping since I've been out.
Oh, you're still on
So
spice. You're still on spice time.
I'm still on Grenada time,
No,
and I don't
we
mind
call it
because it
spice time.
allows me to work. It allows me to do my Grenada work at night. So that's okay.
Indeed. I've seen a release by the party this week, again, in relation to the electoral process. Again, mentioning the continuing situation of the registration officer in Carriacou come election day, the returning officer for Carriacou and Petit Martinique, who has directly been involved in political activity, yet remains as the registration officer for Carriacou Petit Martinique. Where is the party in relation to that issue and electoral issues on a whole? We know that there's still situations where folks are going to be registered, cannot be registered because system is down and other issues. Where is the new national party in relation to this very important issue at this time?
So this matter is so serious, Sheldon, that the NNP will not stop until this matter is properly addressed. So whether it means drawing regional and international attention to this, we are going to do it. Because you see, this goes against basic principles, fundamental rules. And so it is too important to be trivialized and to be just brushed aside. And this has nothing to do with the individual in question. This has everything to do with those in authority who has a responsibility to protect our system. This has everything to do with those who preside over a system that is supposed to be free and fair. A system that should not offer any doubt at all as it relates to transparency, as it relates to impartiality, as it relates to public trust in our democratic institution. That's what it is. It is about the high standard of integrity in office. And so when you have a registration officer who will soon be elevated to the position of returning officer, actively participating in public events of a political party, whichever one it is, this ought not to be accepted. And there are so many precedences on this regionally and internationally that no one should feel comfortable accepting this as normal. And so this individual should not be today, Friday the 11th, still holding this position. Now, when you look at what has happened, and I've had the opportunity to read the report that was written by this individual, and just the report in itself confirms to me that this individual should not be holding this position. And I would be happy with her being promoted to something else, but not in this particular position, right? And this is all that we are saying, that if you look at what has happened, so I've known several registration officers, and I'm sure you know of several registration officers. All my life, I cannot point to a registration officer that I know that I've seen in a political activity. I cannot. All my life, I cannot think of any registration officer that I've known to be actively participating in a political activity. And there's just one reason for this. It is absolutely wrong. It cannot be condoned. And so what has happened, I'm surprised, I'm shocked actually, that this is prolonging in this way, and that we have to be highlighting this issue over and over and over. And there are just two things that really should be done in this situation. Two simple things. The officer in question, recognizing the importance of this office, recognizing the value of this office, recognizing what should have happened in this situation, should do the right thing and say, you know what, I would like to be removed from this position. I would love to serve in another area. So that's the first thing that can be done and should be done. The second thing, which should have been done even before the officer had an opportunity to do what I just suggested. The supervisor of elections and the Governor General of Grenada, immediately that this was brought to their attention, should have taken action to remove this individual from the particular position. And I'm very disappointed. I am very disappointed in the response that was given on this matter. I am very disappointed. And we are hoping that as we continue to pursue this matter, that very soon the necessary steps would be taken to correct the situation. And we are calling on the Governor General, we're calling on the Supervisor of Elections to do what is right in this situation.
Indeed. I'll say whenever you're ready to the picketing thing, I'm ready. I'm a placard and I'm ready. So anytime we move to that stage, I am more.
And you know, Sheldon, as you mentioned this, you know what I also want to say? Could you imagine what would have been the situation if the new National Party was in government? You would have heard every NGO. You would have heard every church leader. You would have heard everybody that considers themselves to be civil society on this particular subject. The silence is deafening.
Well, you'd have seen them writing to the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association, the UK government, the King himself. It would have been a totally different situation. And indeed, the party continues to have its voice heard on this particular issue. Moving right along, because as I said, I'm mindful of the time, there's also the issue, I saw the party issued a release in relation to the issue of the national debt. We saw a release coming out from the government with some suspicious figures. I'll just leave it at that, as suspicious figures, and some downright erroneous statements in relation to Grenada's national debt. And I saw a release coming out from the New National Party responding to that. Give us a little information as to why the party responded and why it responded in the way it responded to the release that came out from the government of Grenada, Ministry of Finance, in relation to the national debt.
Well, I saw the press release and I wondered what was the objective. Was it a distraction, right, from something? So you have to wonder, whenever this government does certain things, you want to wonder what is it they're trying to really do. And I wondered, was this a distraction from something? Was this an opportunity to mislead the public? What exactly was the objective of that particular release, right? So you congratulate and celebrate in yourself. And indeed, while you're doing that, you're taking the opportunity to mislead people, to misguide people, and to really find a way to promote yourself in a way that you should not be promoted. So the government was essentially saying that they have reduced the debt, the public debt. And you know, it's really unfortunate that this press release went out with so many missing pieces, right? So when I saw it, all I thought about was what the press release was not saying, and deliberately not saying. Now, the first thing that this press release did not say, the first thing the press release did not say is that since the NDC assumed office, the debt, the national debt, has increased by more than $730 million. That's the first thing. $730 million, right? And you go back, and our press release was very clear. I looked at it myself. 2 billion in 2022, 2.7 billion in 2024. So simple figures, right? So the press release did not say that in the first year of this administration, the debt was increased significantly, right? In addition to that, let's remember, go back to the last budget. The government authorized for this year a loan appropriation for $800+ million. So if we had already 730 million and we add in 8 million to that, if we're going to add 8 million to that, then you see where we are heading as it relates to national debt. Mm-hmm. Now, these are the same people. Remember their comments about national debt? Remember how they attacked the New National Party for national debt, that we had so much to show for, that you could have pointed to several national projects and developments that you could have really shown directly where this debt went. But think of this administration from 2022 to now and ask yourself, what do we really have to show for the increase in the national debt? What major project has this administration started? What new project have they undertaken since coming into office? Right? Now, just in 1 year, the debt to GDP increased by 6% in 1 year. Not one single major project to show for it. But we also have to keep our eyes, Sheldon, on the debt suspension, right? As a matter of fact, no real justification. What is the justification for suspending debt to 2027 debt payment? What is the real justification for kicking the payment down the road when you know that whenever that payment is due, you would have to pay both the capital and the interest, additional cost to the country. What is the real reason? What is the crisis right now?
Hello? Oh boy, yeah, I made a slight error here. And let me just fix that. Honorable Emlyn Pair, hold one moment, please. Hello? Hello? Oh boy, yeah, I touched the wrong thing here, and I may have knocked off the Honorable Pair. Let me just solve that issue. Yeah, let me see how I can solve that issue quickly. Let me see if I can quickly resolve that issue. I think I should be able to do that quickly. And we do apologize. Let me just get back Honorable Pair here. Honorable Pair, I humbly apologize. I was trying to move something from the screen, and the audio from something that came up blocked off your audio. I'm very sorry about that. You were just
No
speaking about
problem.
the fact that over the period of time that Grenada has been seeing this increase in the GDP, etc., and you went into the area of the debt suspension. I think that's the last area we were hearing
Okay.
in relation to.
Right. So I was saying that, not only is the government increasing our national debt and we're not seeing what we can attach to it. In other words, where are the new projects that we can say, okay, no problem, in the new national party's time, we know the debt probably was going up, but we could have seen us going up in terms of major initiatives that were in new initiatives that were implemented, new projects, right? You can see the national stadium, you can see this, you can see that, whatever, you know that things are happening in the country. So even if you don't know that $5 of the debt is this or that or the other, you know things are happening, and you can see confidently, feel confident that what you are going into debt for is benefiting the nation. In this case, ask yourself, $730 million additional, what do we show for that? Right? But I was making the point as it relates to debt suspension. I am trying to figure it, and I'm sure many people are trying to figure it. What is the reason that we are suspending debt payments? What is the reason we are kicking it down the road to 2027? What is the real justification for this? What is the crisis that we have that we cannot afford to pay now? And there are many persons who are confusing debt suspension. They're confusing debt suspension, thinking that this has been wiped off. So it means that you don't have to pay this anymore, right? This is not a case where debt is written off. This is a case where it's suspended, meaning you'll have to pay it at a later date. And in this case, 2027, not just the capital, but remember, the interest would also have to be paid. So an additional cost for us. The question is why? Can we conclude, Sheldon, that the management of our resources is in question? Can we therefore conclude the mismanagement that is happening in our nation at this time? Can we conclude and wonder whether, do they really know what they are doing? Do they really know what they are doing? And at the end of the day, you hear the same, for example, the Minister for Finance. At the same time, he's talking about us not being able to pay debt. At the same time, he's speaking about mismanagement of government resources. People are paid monies and not delivering services. And then you have to now go to investigate. I mean, let one and one add up to two here.
And
We're
I'm glad.
appealing to this administration. You go ahead.
No, you complete your statement, because there's a question I'm going to ask that's kind of long-winded. So go right ahead. You're calling on the
No,
administration.
I was just saying that this administration needs to get its act together, because these are not their private personal resources. These are the resources of this nation. And not because there are some people who no longer care about how the country's resources are spent. Some people who cared very much prior to 2022, all of a sudden they don't care. Mismanage, waste, do whatever, and they're okay, they're happy because the government is in office. If you're a true Grenadian, if you're a patriotic Grenadian, regardless of which government is in office, you have a responsibility to hold them accountable. I don't care if it's NNP or NDC or whatever P. We have a responsibility to hold our government responsible as it relates to the resources of this country.
Indeed. And as you mentioned that particular area, there's the other very topical discussion, not just in Grenada, no, but regionally about Grenada, about corrupt practices that have been taking place in the burial relief program. There's no other word to describe it. The Prime Minister himself admitted, as much as they are trying to walk the statement back, the Prime Minister admitted that there is corruption taking place in the burial relief program. We heard as much from both the Minister of Housing and the Finance Minister as well in relation to certain activities that have been taking place, or in some instances paid for and not taking place through the burial relief program. In addition to that, we continue hearing the accusations against various ministers, including the MP for the south of the island, in relation to the acceptance of a bribe, the allegation of that. You're also hearing from a former government minister of corruption taking place, and this one is not allegation, this one they're saying straight out, there is corruption taking place in the National Lottery Authority. Information he presented to the Prime Minister and Cabinet. What is the stance of the new National Party in relation to all that we're hearing right now?
Sheldon, let me say this. We have reached a stage, I believe, in our country where we have a leadership that attempts to justify the wrong and do so comfortably. And this is unfortunate. This is so unfortunate. There are so many accusations of corruption against this administration. There are so many instances where the administration itself, through government ministers and other representatives, are admitting to corruption. But what do you have coming out as a result? The attitude is, we have a responsibility to govern and we are going to govern regardless. The attitude of, we don't care what you see, what you say, what you feel. We are elected by the people and we're going to do what we have to do. It is frightening, Sheldon, how some persons are even prepared to defend those actions and those pronouncements. It is frightening. And you know what I think? It will only get worse because of this. And who are the people that are going to be most hurt in this? The people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. The parents who are in need of support that will not be able to get support, whether it is to send their children to school, families that can't put a meal on their table, people who cannot get payment providing services to government. That is going to be the end result of this. That basic services would be affected, because you see, it's not an unlimited pool of monies that we have. So when it's being mismanaged, when people are just doing what they want to do, and some of the things that you hear that, of course, persons are not denying, persons are saying, well, it's okay to have mistakes made. They are referred to as just mistakes. Or people would say, well, this was done before, so that is okay. It is frightening how we are treating with such serious issues. And again, as I'm saying, there are people in Grenada who campaigned, and the key words, transparency, accountability, good governance. There are people who stood up for those principles in the past, insisted on certain things in the past. And I ask the question today, where are those patriotic persons who are looking straight in the face of wrongdoing and they are okay with it? So the law is broken where a government minister or ministers are being given funds through the Grenada Development Bank against the very act. And that is not something that you need Scotland Yard to come to check. All you need is the application and the disbursement document. That's all you need to prove that the law was broken in that regard. Now, rather than accepting that something wrong was done, rather than accepting and correcting or doing whatever has to be done to give comfort to the Grenadian society that we are still standing on the principle of integrity, you know what? The individual goes on to defend this. But you see, at the end of the day, that's okay. That's okay. Because the ordinary man is looking on. And looking on saying that I might not be able to fight you to get $10,000 to start my business. I might not be able to fight you to get $10,000 to get my business in Carriacou restarted from since Hurricane Beryl 1 year ago. I might not be able to fight you to get $5,000 to restock my business in only 2 weeks ago. A young man in cafe said to me, "It's only $5,000 I need." And I was denied, right? So these persons are saying it's okay. It's okay because at the end of the day, I am going to have an opportunity. That's what they're saying. I'm going to have an opportunity to create real change. I am saying we don't have to wait for people to make that decision. The government can make the decision now to correct some of these things. There's a particular way historically that government has operated. Historically, I have never heard of a situation in a ministry, and the government has not come out. Imagine contractors are saying that they are uncomfortable with the arrangements made as it relates to disbursement of funds and the collection of funds. Now, the government is not saying a thing about it. What are we supposed to conclude, that you don't care? That it is okay for this to continue? What is the message that is being sent? And there's just too many complaints about issues of corruption, whether it's within government ministries, whether it's within statutory bodies. There are just too many complaints. And all I'm seeing visibly is that these complaints are just pushed aside, ignored, and let us continue like normal. And I'm calling on this administration that these issues that have been raised, while you may not care, while your supporters may not care, there are sufficient Grenadians who are concerned that you should address them. There are sufficient Grenadians who are extremely concerned about what is said, so what they're hearing, and in many cases what they are seeing. Ordinary people are talking. So whether it's a contractor in a community, there are some stories that are just it blow your mind off when you hear them. And people are coming because they are frustrated. In some cases, they feel that they got the hot end of the stick. The bargain that was made was not kept. And we are saying some of these things that are being shared, people should not be going through those things. In some cases, people cannot even get their payment. Some contractors, and I heard one minister blaming poor contractors for what I consider to be a serious, in my opinion, that minister should not have even repeated what he said, because in the attempt to attack the contractor for poor performance, what it did was expose the loopholes and expose the corruption within the government ministry. To me, that is what it did. Because there's a particular way that services are obtained by government. There's a certain process that you have to go through when you are going to ask someone to provide a service to the government. So, procurement process, if it's of a certain amount, we know what that is. They've extended the threshold for whatever reason. Sometimes you don't understand it. But I'm talking about not even going there. Let us stick to this burial, build back better, and these ordinary contractors who all that they have is the little that they got to start. And my God, you have some of these people cannot feed their families. You have some of these people cannot pay workers who are threatening them. And you're turning around and blame them for your action, for your lack or poor management of a program, for your inability to lead and manage. You turn around and you're trying to find somebody to blame. But you know, when leadership don't accept responsibility and they blame everybody else, it tells something about the leadership.
Indeed, indeed. Folks, we're speaking with the Honorable Emmeline Pierre. Don't worry that you're not seeing her on camera. The circumstances, we're hearing her in fact, I think we're hearing you better than we may have heard you on the Zoom, you know. You're extremely clear. And we're speaking about several issues here. And as we are on the issue of corruption, and it was mentioned in relation to the Beryl program, we've just passed the 1-year anniversary of Hurricane Beryl. And I know that the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique are and have always been and will always continue to be very close to your heart. Yourself, you've been to Carriacou several times since Hurricane Beryl. What is the latest that you have been hearing out of Carriacou, Petit Martinique? What are some of the stories that you've been hearing out from there? What is taking place? What have you, as political leader of the New National Party, but also as leader of His Majesty's opposition, what have you been hearing coming out of Carriacou and Petit Martinique? In fact, Petit Martinique and Carriacou are using their way, what we used to use it before election, Petit Martinique and Carriacou. What have you been hearing?
I want to first empathize with the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique as they continue to, try to get over the effects or the ways that they've been affected by Hurricane Beryl. We just marked 1 year, and I'm quite sure that while some people were celebrating the 1 year, there are many people who would have found it very difficult to even reflect on the experience of Hurricane Beryl, much less to think about what their situation is 1 year after. So I continue to empathize with the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique. I want to also recognize those persons who have been volunteering, those persons who have been doing all that they can to help, to support, in so many ways. I want to commend and to appreciate them for their efforts. I want to, of course, recognize our representative in Carriacou, New National Party representative in Carriacou, Honorable Nolan Cox, for his effort, and all of our supporters up there who have been doing all that they can, doing the best that they can under the circumstances to still help, even if they themselves were affected by the passage of this hurricane. I go back 1 year ago and I think about the various initiatives that they have undertaken as an organization. And I always say this, the New National Party was attacked, verbally so, for several of the initiatives that we did after the hurricane. and led by Brother Cox in Carriacou. So whether it was the portable toilets that many people appreciated, whether it was the food that we cooked and distributed free of cost, whether it was the assistance in rebuilding, so maroon style labor provided, whatever it was, the distribution, we've distributed through Senator Cox so much food and other items, right? And in all the attack that was launched against the party and Senator Cox, you know what I thought of? Think back, just try to think back of Hurricane Ivan. Think back of what the said individuals did during that period. For the most part, it was to attack the government, the New National Party government. We didn't take that posture. We did not adopt that posture. What did we do? What did we do? We did the best we could as an organization in Carriacou, supported by the national organization, to help bring relief, to help mobilize Brother Cox with medication, Pampers, all of those things. And that is why I feel proud, really, really proud to be associated with the New National Party. Because we don't adopt the posture that we're in opposition and all we do is to wish you bad and criticize you. We do what we have to do when we have to do it and to the best that we can do it with the limited resources of opposition. So Brother Cox and the team in Carriacou continue to support and to help. Of course, he's in opposition. He doesn't have the resources of government. And we will continue in every possible way that we can to support the people of Carriacou and Petit Martinique and to continue to call on this administration, because I am extremely disappointed. Our party is extremely disappointed of where we are 1 year later. This administration is not in the situation and cannot in any way compare this situation to post-Ivan. Post-Ivan, you talking about the entire country. In Beryl, we're talking about Carriacou and Petit Martinique. Post-Ivan, you cannot speak about a treasury, $500 million and $1 billion from CBI revenue. And you cannot talk about that in addition to all the resources that this administration received externally from people who contributed, people who gave. And these people, some of them are wondering what is happening. But on top of that, you cannot compare this situation with Ivan in the context that in Ivan, there was no CRIF, insurance policy payout, 14 days after the hurricane. This administration had the luxury of benefiting from an initiative of the NNP administration where they received $118 million 14 days after the passage of the hurricane. We are disappointed of where we are 1 year after, with so much resources available, so much available that I believe it's the reason this government has been mismanaging the resources in the way it has. And there's been so much wastage while some people are still wetting, while some people are still wetting. People are building houses, breaking it down, going to another one because contractor has no clue what to do. And when you have a government minister admitting that, and then another one rebutting it to say, almost say, well, what is wrong with that? Let's give people a chance. Let's give people an opportunity. Forgetting that this is not their personal monies. You could afford to do that when it's your private money, but you cannot do that with the country's resources, taxpayers' monies that this country would have earned through the blood, sweat, and tears of many. You cannot afford to function in that way. So when you hear a government minister says you just pick up some people by the side of the road and give them a contract, well, that's great of an opportunity for the young men by the road. But hey, put them with somebody who is a qualified contractor, put them as helper, put them as apprentice, put them as something that they can learn the skill. But don't give them a contract that you know at the end of the day that some of these monies are going to go to waste because they are going trial and error. You know, I absolutely support any opportunity for young people. You know that. But I'm saying, Sheldon, that we cannot be playing around with government resources in that way. It's not a game. I mean, I don't know how people view this, but you cannot just take a person because you think they're young and you want to give them an experience and you just put them to build a house. It does not work like that. And so we have to take more seriously the management of the resources of the state. There's an opportunity. Let them go to Nulu. Let them do the building construction program there. Whatever. Do a special program for them. But you cannot be taking the resources that's supposed to put roof over the head of people who are still wetting and praising yourself because you gave an opportunity to young people. It doesn't work like that. And that just shows not just lack of empathy, but it shows a lack of understanding of what your role and your function is as well. So I would trust that we are going to see some movements on the ground in Carriacou and Martinique. I don't know, we've been calling for this 1 year, so I mean it's worth it calling for it every time you speak. But it's a bit frustrating when you hear the stories of people from Carriacou and Martinique. And what bothers me sometimes is that when you raise these things, rather than people looking into it and trying to deal with it, they turn around and try to defend it and make it sound like if what you're talking is just pure nonsense. I'll give a practical example. I remember speaking to a businessman in Carriacou, and the individual shared with me moments before a parliament session that one of the major problems affecting some of the business people in Carriacou is that the government would have started a program where they're exempted from paying VAT on certain items, right? Now, the problem they're having is that if they have to buy the items in Carriacou, it's easy to get the exemption in Carriacou. But the problem extends further. The items are not available in Carriacou, which means they have to come to Grenada to buy the item. When they come to Grenada, there's nothing that they could present that says to the business owner they're entitled to an exemption. So it means that from then, they have been paying the VAT on these items. And that businessman raised with me the frustration because they need to be refunded. And they're asking the ministry, they're asking here and there, and nobody could give a straight answer. And it's not just about the answer, but about the need for the financial resources, because these are people who are trying to build back. Now, I raised this in Parliament, and I was told almost in those words that I don't know what I'm talking about. Now, these are people who are expressing their own experience, and people are brushing it aside as, based on the messenger. It equates to nothing based on who the messenger is. And so my heart goes out. The party continues to stand in solidarity with the people of Carriacou and Martinique, and we would continue to do that. We'll continue to raise the issue, and Senator Cox has been doing an excellent job raising the issues, bringing to the attention of the government the issues. And I firmly believe, the only reason that this administration shamefully could say after 1 year that they only did 11 houses, even that, I believe credit has to go to the New National Party for ponging on this government that they need to begin to rebuild the houses in Carriacou and Petit. Just think about it for a moment. Think about that for a moment.
Yes, indeed. And Honorable Pair, as we're speaking about disasters, as in the National Democratic Congress and Hurricane Beryl, there's a situation, and I must mention this tonight. I intend to go into it more extensively tomorrow night. A situation for the folks out there in Cloger, where a project has turned into an entire debacle. I'm yet to hear from the Ministry of Works any statement in relation to that project. I keep seeing the contractor speaking. I don't know since when the contractor become the Minister of Works, but it is causing a lot of pressure, stress on the people of Cloger. There's a homeowner whose building is directly impacted by it. In fact, I saw some updated video today. And between Monday, yesterday, and today, I've been seeing videos of what has been taking place. And each time they send a video to me, the cracks that are in the road, they're wider. Each day. So the land continues to move, it continues to slip and so on. And the folks in Cloger, they're crying out because right now when it comes to transportation, it's an issue. When it comes to getting down to the capital of St. John, get down to Guave, it is an issue. They have to walk past this dangerous area to get down to the main, to Guave itself. And for those who are working along the West Coast or so, they have to make the entire circle, either go around the St. Patrick's side or go down through St. George and come back up. They're going through a lot of problems. Your take on what is taking place there right now, I know you may have seen some of the news reports, etc., regarding that project and what has happened there. Your views on what is taking place and your words to the people of St. John.
Again, Sheldon, my heart goes out to the people of St. John's. I've been speaking to a few persons from the Cloger area, and it's really, really unfortunate, the situation there. Really unfortunate, the situation there. And I think what for them is most difficult to deal with is the lack of empathy. I want to appeal that an urgent meeting be held with these people and to look at what can be done in the immediate to assist and to bring some relief, because people are seriously affected, right? People are seriously affected. The situation is getting worse, it appears, right? There are so many questions. Was this done in a rush? If yes, why? Right? Was there a proper design? Right? Were people just digging for, I don't know, what was proper procedures followed? Was a soil test done? You know, there are so many questions. Was there proper supervision from technical people in the Ministry of Works? What was the involvement of technical people in the Ministry of Works in the work that had started? So many questions. There are so many questions. I understand from the former MP for that area that prior to the election in 2022, a team went to visit that area. And there was a decision as to how that particular project was going to be approached. And it appears that something absolutely different was done to what was proposed by technical people back then. So there are a lot of questions surrounding this and who's taking responsibility for this situation. But I think the key thing and the most important thing right now is that a whole village has been isolated as a result of this. And people's lives are seriously affected as a result of this. So think about people going to the supermarket. Think about people's livelihood. A taxi man who may have to make that decision that he cannot do business anymore. And this is real. This is not a make-up story. Because I can't now go all the way over Grenada to come to St. George. It's not going to be economical for me to do so, right? What about the market vendors who live in that area? What about the individual who runs a garbage truck service, right? Maybe now he's going all the way around Granitang and come, but how many days per week can he afford to do that? Because that was not factored in the contract that he has. So, speaking to real people who are affected directly by this tells me that there's an urgency for relief in that area, right? Basic transportation, taking people to go off. Think about the economic impact as it relates to farmers who cannot access their lands, the uncertainties that exist as a result. We have some weeks that we can think about school, but there are some real immediate urgencies, urgent matters, urgent issues. People are affected in a serious way. And I would trust that the authorities would immediately move. I mean, I would have expected that that process would have started already, right? But up till today, there's a concern that you're not hearing anything from those who should be speaking at this time, right? But once, as you raise the subject of St. John's, that's not the only area where there are some issues affecting people directly. There's a serious issue that Woodford community that they've been clamoring over and over and over. I've heard that there has been a meeting held with residents, but again, the impact of what is happening there, the people who are seriously affected, the farmers that cannot access the lands. There's some serious issues in the St. John's area that need urgent attention of this government. And I would trust that in short time, immediately, that this administration would pay attention to those issues affecting the people of St. John's.
And we're continuing on the route of disasters and these sort of things now. And we're heading a bit closer to home for you. Well, not closer to home, we're heading home to you, to the wonderful, lovely community, the beautiful people of Telescope, and what they went through during the week last week when there was that tremendous, massive explosion that took place in Telescope. I know that you've been out of the island, I think the same day that happened or the day before you had traveled when that took place. Your words to the people of Telescope. In fact, before we even get to that, what information have you picked up in relation to what happened and why it happened? What information have you picked up as MP for what has happened, why it has happened? Has the investigation been completed? Has anything been said to the folks in the area that this will not happen again? We're taking a different approach, etc. And your words to the people of Telescope. We know that you had a session there with them on Monday. You had a session together with Dr. Panchu. I know that you were there virtually with the folks there on Monday when they had that session. Give us some insight into the Telescope situation.
So until now, there has not been, as far as I'm aware, an official report on this matter. Even Monday, the persons who I spoke to from Gravel and Concrete or heard from Gravel and Concrete, they did not make mention that the report was indeed complete, because I would trust that they would also know when it's complete. And my expectation is that within a week of this incident, a report should be publicized, a proper report publicized, independent investigation into the matter, and not just, as I said before in a previous interview, not just to tell us what has happened. There must be some accountability. There must be some accountability. And in addition to that, there must be something that speaks to the future. How do we prevent this from happening again? Because happening again could mean innocent people losing their lives. So this must never happen again. And I'm not just speaking about Telescope, because I wouldn't want it happen for the people of Telescope, nor people anywhere. So it must not happen in St. John's, it must not happen anywhere. But for this to not repeat itself, those in authority must put some structures in place. Because you can be in X place, not knowing that damaged or unstable explosives are passing. You could be in Y place and don't know that they're in the building next door to you. So hence the reason I'm saying sometimes we miss the point when important things are being discussed. And the point is really that this would have put the lives of many people at risk. This is not just about some explosives from gravel and concrete. This was a national security risk. And I'm saying this to say that I would hope that the person who would ultimately take responsibility for that is the Minister for National Security. To explain to the nation what happened and to give the assurance that systems are in place that it would never happen again. Right? So following the explosion, I actually left the same day of this and was in Barbados when I started getting the messages on my phone. And so immediately I was able to put a volunteer team together to go out on the ground, visit the site, visit the individuals, started collecting immediately the information on damages, etc. Because of course this is a matter that the government has to take responsibility for, whether directly or through gravel and concrete. And so we thought we would be quite willing to assist the process, and we started collecting the information. Quite obviously, within the day, by the end of the day, Gravel and Concrete said that they would accept responsibility for the damages, replacing and repairing, right? And so we have been assisting in any way that we can as it relates to identifying the individuals. Some of them were already visited, some were visited today. Some televisions were replaced, and as I said, persons were visited for the purpose of assessing their damages. In some cases, we had windows, doors, or roof damage, pillars damage, walls cracked in different houses, etc. Right? Now, I am also very concerned as it relates to the infrastructure of what could be that is not totally visible. So, in other words, a house that shook, right? What structural damage that maybe is not seen. And that is why I'm saying that these assessments need to be done by professionals, people who know what they're doing, especially concrete homes. I got a story from one person who had a 2-story house, and listening to them confirms what I'm saying, that these assessments need to be thoroughly done, right? So that I'm quite happy about that process is on. But I noticed that there was absolutely no attention paid to the psychosocial aspect of this. And so the constituency team, volunteer team, and myself worked immediately to get a program started. And, even the session itself, I listened on to the entire session, and just listening persons share their experience confirms to me that we needed to continue this. And so we took that decision to continue that program, because people definitely are affected, children affected by this. But there's also the issue of assessment as it relates to hearing. And this is something that I am advocating for as well, because there is a need to look beyond just what we can see. There's a serious need to look beyond. But out of all of this, Sheldon, the question is, how soon are we going to get the report, and what is going to be put in place once that report is concluded? So I'm waiting on this. As I said, the Minister for National Security must accept responsibility that the entire community was placed under risk, and this is something that cannot. I don't know what is the intention for the site going forward. All of this, I am hoping, will form part of an explanation very, very soon. I'm trusting that within a week, which should be probably, I don't
A
know.
week has
I
gone
can't see
now.
what could take. That's what I'm saying. I can't see what is taking more than a week to provide a proper report on this particular matter.
And even if
So
even if it's an initial report, say
preliminary
a
reports
preliminary
would be
report,
acceptable.
yeah,
Yeah.
and you could do that within less than a week, to say this is what happened and so on, because we've been hearing various stories. There's also outside of that issue, which is a terrible issue in itself. There's also another issue of the dumping of vehicles and so on at a particular part of Telescope and so on. I know some of the residents have been complaining about that particular issue as well. You've looked into that issue. What is the latest that you've heard from, I believe it's the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority that's dealing with that one. What is the latest that you've heard from them in relation to the dumping of those vehicles and etc.? Basically the dumping it on the people at Telescope. What is the latest?
And it's not in isolation. We have to look at all the issues combined, and we have to think of how the people feel. I think I said that on a previous interview, because this, on top of that previous item of the dumping, the derelict vehicles, many persons have been asking the question, why everything is Telescope. So you took it all the way from Point Celine to bring it up to Telescope. The question is, why? Is that the only place that you could have brought it, right? Is that the only place? And so, as it relates to the derelict vehicles, I have often said the bigger issue with that for me is lack of consultation, right? Because if you say you have a plan that eventually you're going to move these derelict vehicles out, then you need to share that plan with the people even before you bring the derelict vehicles there. You can't bring it there, wait for them to protest, and then try to explain to them what you plan to do. And that's one of the things about this administration that I fail to understand. I fail to understand, why is it that they just totally ignore the views of people, the feelings of people, the interests of people, and just do whatever they want to do without any care as to how people feel. So when something affects the lives of people, or will affect the life of people, to the best of your ability, you must engage them. And you must give them the courtesy of an opportunity to express their views on the matter, to give feedback, right? So when the trees were being cut down, it's not that people wanted to protest against it, it's because they're seeing their homes being exposed to disaster. Because those trees are what we call windbreak. So you absolutely, and then you pile up the derelict vehicles one on top of the other, creating now a hazard after you remove the trees. So these derelict vehicles may end up in their bedroom when you have a high wind. These are the things that people would want to discuss and say to you, no, it's not a wise thing to do this, because this is what normally happens here when there's a hurricane, for example. So I really empathize with these people, because it's like one on top the other, one on top the other, and it's extremely unfortunate that they are treated in this way.
Indeed. And while we're on these issues as well, I see a side issue that in the next few minutes, because I realize it's while it is 9:54 Spice time, it is 2:54 UK time, minutes to 3. And as much as you're on Grenada time, you do need to rest. We want to make sure our political leader gets her rest. You've been up for the entire day. Now, there's the one of the last issue, not the last, but one of the final issues I want to discuss tonight is the issue of the $10,000 that's being given to parliamentarians. I continually hear some nonsensical statements being made out there by individuals that, oh, they're getting it. So you're even hearing people saying, you're getting $10,000, why you don't go and fix back the people's house with that? I mean, $10,000, that's to fix back houses. Explain to folks, what is the $10,000? What is it used for? How it is distributed and so on? Because I think some people feel that on a monthly basis, $10,000 is placed onto your bank account, or that somebody drives up and find you wherever you are and come and hand you an envelope with $10,000 in it. And I can say without you even saying it that is not true. Give folks an insight into the monies that are given to parliamentarians, and in particular, when that $10,000 is given to an opposition parliamentarian as opposed to a government parliamentarian, and in some instances, you have people who are not parliamentarians, but still have access to basically millions to do different things in constituencies, while all you have is that $10,000 under strict rules.
Now, let me start by saying this. The only reason, and I feel very confident about what I'm about to say, that we ended up with this constituency allowance is because members of the government thought that this $10,000 was going to be deposited into personal accounts. I'm confident about that. Mm-hmm. That's how we ended up with this constituency allowance. Now, when this matter was presented to us, it was presented with a request to us to provide a personal bank account number. It was members of the opposition who objected to say that we are not going to participate in this and that it is wrong to allow any government monies to go into a personal account. So it was after we raised that objection that the program took a change in terms of its structure. I remember clearly some of the discussions that were held, and I'm saying to you, we even went to secure the advice of former officers within Ministry of Finance, the Accountant General Office, to advise the opposition on the proposal that we received as it relates to this matter. And this is why I'm pretty disturbed that the government itself is encouraging this conversation that you have just raised. Because this is not coming from people who work with politicians. This is coming directly. Mm-hmm. It's an encouragement, right? And I'm saying this tonight very clearly, that if the members of the opposition did not insist on some things, this particular program would not have been what it is now. The second thing I'll say about this is not new in the sense that the purpose for which this was established under the NNP administration, there was an existing program for that purpose. And you know what? We suggested that it could continue in the way it was under the New National Party. How was it? I'm sure you're familiar with the Needy Assistance Program. And they said no, they didn't want to continue with this. They should not be under the Prime Minister's ministry, every constituency. So this was not our idea. This was not something we went and requested. Right? Now, let me also make the point that one, there's only one way that you can receive that first payment. And that is if you have an account that belongs to the Parliament of Grenada. 2, that you have at least 2 or 3 people sign on to that account. And you meet all of the requirements and you follow the rules as to what the funds can be used for and what it cannot be used for. So guess what? It cannot be used to build a house. It cannot, based on the rules. It cannot be used to build a road based on the rules. And in any case, what road could $10,000 build? What house could $10,000 build? Right?
A dolly house.
Now, the third thing to note about this, because I don't know why people are encouraging people to repeat these things, because then it causes you now to have to just explain what the truth is, right? And I would stop short of speaking about the discussions that were held with government ministers on this matter. I would stop short of discussing it. But should this continue, then I would have to just provide more details to justify our case as it relates to this. Now, when this first $10,000 go into the account, it is not a case where the Parliament continues to provide you with that payment. So maybe if you ask certain people, they would tell you that there was a point where they couldn't get because they have to account. No. Every cent that you spend must be accounted for with an invoice. Every cent that you spend, there must be documented information to justify. And where does that go? That goes to the Parliament. And it is when they go through it and they satisfy that it was spent for the right reason, it is only then that you'll be allowed to draw down or to get additional funds under the program. So never mind what persons are trying to impression that persons are trying to give supporters to give to other people. This is just dishonesty at its very best. It is just dishonesty. And you know what? There's only one simple little reason that I continue to participate in this program, and I'll tell you why. Else Emmeline Pierre would say, please remove my name from this. I don't want to be a part of it. Let me tell you the one reason. The one reason is because every school is writing you to help sponsor something, whether it's sports, whether it's whatever. $500 for this, $1,000 for this. In one case, there was a request for $3,000. We had to say to them, no, sorry, we could only do $1,000 because we already over the budget, right? So schools are writing. Community organizations are writing, sponsor this football, this cricket, this whatever competition. Remember how much the amount we're talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. 10,000.
Now, take out schools, take out community organizations. You have cases of persons who are going to university that may have a special situation, a special circumstance, because under the program, we're not allowed to do continuous payment. Mm-hmm. So there might be a special situation or circumstance. Medical is another. And sometimes, you know what? The persons we have to help with medical is people who are lying in the hospital, cannot get the medication in the hospital, cannot get the service in the hospital. And we have to take back from that same money to pay to help them to get a test there or get a this there or to get whatever service, right? Programs that you have, whether it's for youth or women in the community, the programs you run in the constituencies, that's where it comes from. So when you look at this, there's no month in question that you get a payment and you don't have already exceeded the total in terms of the number of requests that you have. Because I'll tell you, Sheldon, it is rough out there. So the cases that you have coming to you for assistance, in some cases, they don't fit within the program. The rules of the program do not allow you to assist. And there are other cases where, as I said, the amount, you could only assist so much with that amount. But let me contrast that. Let me contrast that to what was under the NNP. When you come to me, and we've already reached 10,000, there's only one answer I can give you, and that is no, that we cannot help. Under the NNP, and any minister of government, past or present, can confirm this, that every MP had a quota for the year. So X amount for the year, whether it's medical, all of the things I just spoke about, schools, community, you help as much as you can. But you know what? If after you reached your quota, and sometimes I remember going as much as twice than my quota, because when I go and I cry for a case, I'm telling you, Sheldon, when you reach your quota, you go to the cabinet and you say, look, this is a situation. This person in this situation, that person in that situation, we really do need the help. And it was granted. And that is why I said, when we talk about this program, we're speaking of it as something that's new. It's the change of a name of a program that existed for years, that assisted and supported many people. It changed location from the Prime Minister's office to the constituency office. I don't have a major problem with that. But don't present it as if it's something that never happened, because everything I'm doing under this program, we were able to do it under the needy assistance program. And let anybody prove me wrong on that. Everything that we're doing under this program, we were able to do it under the needy assistance program or some other program within the government service. And so, hence the reason I say tonight, if persons want to use this to kind of shade the reality of the situation in Grenada, to try to paint some dark picture of opposition members of parliament, or to try to change the subject that people want to talk about, then no problem, go ahead and do that. But what I can say to you is that as it relates to this program, the impression given by members of the government and those who work with them directly, eventually, all would know the truth surrounding that program. That's all I'll say there.
Indeed. Honorable Emlyn Pear, it is now 7 minutes after the hour of 10 o'clock on the Spice Dial, 7 minutes after the hour of 3 a.m. in the UK. We'd like to end here tonight. There are one or two other questions, but we'll save those for another interaction very soon. Once again, especially when you're back on island. Any closing words to the listeners tonight?
Well, I just want to close where I started. One, to empathize with all of the persons, to say to you that we can't say that we know exactly what you're going through. So whether the people of Cloget, the people of Woodford, Telescope, all of those persons, there have been so many tragic incidences, whether, accidents, deaths, fires, the people of Carriacou. There's just so much happening at the same time. And we want to say to you, our heart is with you through the challenges and the difficulties that you go through. And I just want to close by, pointing to two things in summary. We are extremely concerned as it relates to the management of the resources of this country. The resources are limited. And if we don't say this, then we are not thinking the future, and we're not thinking about where eventually we are going to end up as a nation. We don't want to go back. We don't want to go back. And so when I started early and I made reference to the increase that we've seen in the debt stock of this country, even if the government is taking praise, saying it has decreased, obviously they are not giving the full picture of this story, right? So when you look at the fact that there has been an increase, $2 billion in 2022 to 2.73 billion at the end of 2024, there has been an increase in the debt. I also made the point that the government came to the parliament for a loan authorization. While they have not taken that loan, as far as we are, as yet, they got authorization, which means there's an intention, and that in itself is another 800 plus million. So they have authorization for this. So if they take that additional loan and you add that together, you can see where we are heading as it relates to loans. But as I said earlier, the thing that concerns most about the loans, and we said it when we were in office, is not about the loan per se, it's about what you have to show for the loan, is what you're doing with the money. So even in the case of the loan authorization, they have not taken it, but they've gotten authorization for the $30 million for the new hospital. Remember, we asked the question on the budget, what are you planning to do this year if you take this loan? Because you said you're not going to start building the hospital in 2025. So it means that a whole 430 million, if you take the loan, is going to be going just to consultancies and other things that is going to not give us any direct benefit as it relates to healthcare. And we know the state and the mess that healthcare is in at this time. So if you're going to take a loan, if you plan to take a loan, if you're going to sign a contract for $7 million per year, then we would want to see that these monies are going to direct services for people in healthcare, additional medication, additional services, new equipment. Those are the things that concern us, not the plan or the idea of a new hospital. We want to see an improvement in healthcare, but addressing those things that matters most to people. Cost of living, as I said earlier, that is a major issue of concern for us. People are finding it difficult to put food on their table, to send their children to school. Yet still, while that is happening, you have ministers of government admitting publicly to wastage of public finances. When you look at what was spent last year, millions of dollars more than was budgeted, spent on traveling and hosting and entertainment. And those are the things that concern us. And let me end by making this point. Sheldon, anybody who is serious and really truly care about the country would not allow themselves to be bullied into silence. Anybody who seriously care about Grenada will not allow themselves to be bullied into silence. So it means, therefore, that we will continue to address the issues. We would continue to speak about the issues. We would continue to call on the administration to do better. And if this administration is wise, they would listen, they would address the issues, and they would do better by the people of this country. But I end by saying, the New National Party, we continue to prepare ourselves for when the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique call upon us to provide the service of leadership of this country one more time. We would be ready. We would be ready to serve the people of Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. So I want to say good night to everybody. God's blessings, and let us continue to love and serve our country after we love and serve God. Let us continue to love each other. Grenada belongs to all of us. Life is short, and let us continue to live in peace, regardless of the political organization that we support. Have a good night, everybody.
Indeed. And a good morning to you again. And indeed, we hope that you enjoy the rest of your day and safe journeys on your way back to the Spice.
Thank you, and I leave, I think, in another few hours to head back home.
Indeed, and I know some people in Mamakan looking out to see you.
Yes,
They're looking out to
yes.
see you. So, as well as the rest of the constituency, but specifically some people in Mamakan. So, do enjoy the rest of your night. And again, have a wonderful one. Once again, thank you so very much for being here with us.
God bless.
All right. Yes, indeed, folks. We were speaking there with the Honorable Emlyn Pear, a member of Parliament for St. Andrew South East, a leader of His Majesty's opposition and political leader of the New National Party, speaking to us there from London. Yeah, as she organizes to get back down home to Grenada. And I know Honorable Emlyn Pear, I can tell you, the moment she lands, Honorable Emlyn Pear ain't going home, she going telescope. And from telescope, that is if she don't hit Mamakan first and then telescope. But I know Honorable Emlyn Pear, and I know that is the way that she's going to operate. Definitely one to the other. Folks, we way over time tonight. And whatever you say and do it safe and secure. I want to be speaking to and with you, and definitely not about you. Love each and every one of you. Yes, we are on tomorrow night. I saw Brother Adrian Watts just drop a little $5 there. Yes, we are on tomorrow night. Friday night with the Friday Night Forum, God's willing. Have a packed program tomorrow night prepared for you, so we need everybody to come in earlier. Yeah, we have to deal with certain people and things they've been saying and them kind of thing. If they feel we forget them, now we don't put them behind back. We putting them in front. We're dealing with them. That's all the time we have for tonight. Do enjoy the rest of your night tonight.
In my Father's house, there are many mansions. If it wasn't so, I would have told you. For you, walking in the footsteps of the Lord. I wake up in the morning, and before I eat my bread, brother man, I get on my knees and I give the praise. The day was not so moving, but before I go to bed, brother man, I get on my knees and I give the praise. Cause things could have been so different if you didn't love me. Love me. I say things could have been so very different if you didn't love me. Job in my house, no man can break it down. Job in my house, no man can break it down. I say job in my house, nobody can break it down. No man can break you down. Wicked people, make no sense, you try. Jah watch over right. Jah in my house. No man can break you down, no way. Jah in my house. Nobody can break you down, I say. Jah build it. Jah build my house. On solid rock I stand. Oh, my Father, oh Lord, they can break it down. The weather keep on changing in a funny kind of way, but I